Symphony No.6 was another one of Vincent's ideas, actually, and also came from a newspaper article, in this case about an Iranian woman who'd been condemned to death for killing a man who had raped her, and this struck a chord with us, and she wrote a letter to her mother before she was killed, and that letter was basically saying, I want my body to, and other things, but included her saying that she wanted her organs to be used to give life to others, and that was a kind of a positive thing that was part of that first statement. But generally, that theme of cruelty and horror that one feels towards the kind of circumstances of that original letter and so forth became the basis, in my mind, for the character of the piece. So even though there are four poems, four settings, and three interludes between them, the first one, Last Letter, which became the sort of title of the piece as well, was the thing that defined the mood of the whole work, really. I mean, the other poems were, the second one's based on a development from a Greek folk song. The third one was a Vincent's sonnet. These are all about mothers or daughters, and the last one was a translation of a poem by a Chilean poet. So but they all had the same theme, and they all were kind of dark. And partly because of the character of that first idea, I pared down the instrumentation, used a lot of percussion, piano, Celeste vibes, tubular bells, glockenspiel, harp, very important to the sound world of the piece, plus lots of woodwind solos and so forth. The idea that one could or couldn't write about mothers and daughters seems to me a little bit odd, in a sense. I mean, we're talking humans, human relationships, and identification or empathy with any condition, male or female, or any kind of different background. I do believe, as I suppose anybody could understand that, and maybe as an artist one might be prepared to feel that one might have more feeling for these things. I don't know. It didn't seem to be an issue. I mean, the second symphony is basically from at least half of it's the woman that the soldier falls in love with. The fifth symphony is songs by a child about her experience in Budapest, So all of those symphonies have a kind of quite a very strong female aspect to them. One thing about that I will say is I of course absolutely love the sound of the soprano or alto voice, and it's easier to write for that in a way to float over an orchestra than perhaps a male voice who's got to come through in the middle register.
Mother, I asked you not to do it, not to sing about me when the sun has set. The sun has set. That's when Charon dines with his family in a imperial train to serve them. Light candles to brighten the table. The candle's wax is dripping among the dead, among the dead. Arise in the golden gowns of burning, mothers in the silver suits are turning. My mouth bleeds, I have nothing to say.
It's interesting to me how much effort singers will make to try and put themselves in the frame of the person that they're singing about. And sometimes as a composer one doesn't really think what effort's going to be required for that. But she obviously did a great deal of thinking and working through what the pieces were about. In fact, she knew more about the last poem when I talked to her about it than I had actually understood. I think she had a good idea what that last poem was about, but I never really understood it. It just seemed very mysterious to me, and I set it to music in a way which was also, I believe, rather mysterious and fragmentary, actually. There is one other interesting thing perhaps to say about the Sixth Symphony, and that is that the third song uses the last, what I believe is the last chord that Jack Body ever composed, which was the last chord of Cries from the Border, his work that was performed at the Nelson Festival. And it seemed like it's a beautiful chord, and I thought it was a nice homage.
Embrace the ocean.
To actually build a song about a mother fearing the loss of her daughter. The daughter has gone, and she doesn't even want to say the word daughter. And so, yeah, that became the basis of that piece. It does seem a bit odd to have written 6 symphonies. Up until my probably mid-50s, I didn't think I was going to write one at all because it wasn't part of the sort of modernist world that I inhabited. I mean, the Shostakovich, the Sibelius, so they all belonged to something of Mahler where I didn't really have any place to be there. But that kind of changed when I got the residency with the Auckland Philharmonia, and I thought, well, damn it all, it's a symphony orchestra, I'm going to write them a symphony. And I believe I can do that because my language is kind of useful for evolution of material and some complexity which might all belong to the world of symphony. But to have ended up with 6 comes almost as a surprise, really. Just one thing happened after another, and when the 6th was finished, I felt, actually before the performance, but after I'd written it, I thought, I really have nothing more to say. This is it. But after the performance and its successful reception and so forth, because I did take some risks with that piece, mostly its emptiness, I felt encouraged again, and a little lady She was really tiny, little old lady. She came up to me after the performance and she looked up and she said, "Your last 3 symphonies have been very sad. Do you think you could write one that's more cheerful?" And I sort of, yeah, right. But, you know, it kind of stuck in the brain that maybe there is another one tucked in there, and maybe I can, I'm not going to say it'll be cheerful, that would be ridiculous, but that it might have, something might emerge in due course that would be of a different feel from, certainly I think just an instrumental work would be the point. So we'll see how that happens. I have other things to write in the meantime, but it's now starting to gel quietly in the back of my mind to what that sound world might be. So 6, maybe 7, I don't know. And then everybody says, well, wait till you get to 9, blah blah. And I say, well, look, I'll write really slowly now so I don't get to number 9 until I'm really ancient. But anyway, it might happen. You don't know what's around the corner.